What's going on, everybody out there? This is your man C.
And your girl Tia.
Jen Strong, lover of life.
And we're here for the one, the only, the
Two Real Radio.
All right. How's everybody? First of all.
Welcome back, Michael Mother.
Where the hell you been?
Yeah, we need an explanation.
Where have you been? Are we dealing with the up and down weather, the cold? It might snow
And I'm
tomorrow.
sick,
We don't know.
So excuse me, I have a cough drop in my mouth. So if I have this big bulge right here, you'll know why.
We got a bulge and shit, huh? That's a whole nother topic. So back to the matter at hand. Where have you been?
You know, my aunt got married last weekend.
Congratulations, Auntie.
In Ohio. So congratulations, and you know, just living life.
What you had to do, right?
You know what I mean?
Just
Just living life.
All right. Okay. You left us here all alone. We missed you.
I missed you.
Thought you quit us, man. Thought you quit on us.
I missed you.
All right.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Let's
So,
get to it. Come on, let's go.
And you know
we got
before,
limited
before,
time.
before we go, yeah, right. Before we get into it, man, you always ready to you don't even want to talk about your week. How's it been going?
My week,
anything new?
because I'm gonna say the same thing every time. It's
Let's go.
excellent.
Get right into
It's
it every
excellent.
time.
My week is excellent. I'm excellent. Everything is great. I feel good. You know.
I mean, I thought he was really going to say, you know, this weekend, you know, I want to give her props to all the mothers. Yes.
I mean, we just started. I mean,
yes.
shout out to
Come on, she
Mother's
wanna
Day.
do that now.
You know what's funny?
ASAP.
So the funny thing is, before when we did our first couple shows, our first pilot episodes, we weren't live, so we were putting them out, so we had the delay of, you know, the week. So now we're live. I'd be forgetting all about it. So happy Mother's Day to all the deserving mothers. Just because you shot one out does not mean you get to celebrate this holiday.
But that is a thing though that we can do that y'all don't have to do.
Oh, everything. What?
Shoot them out. As you just so lovely.
So you get a prize just because you can
No,
shoot them out?
I was just piggybacking on the last show. Remember, we was talking about things that y'all can't do, or shouldn't do, or can't do.
You can't shoot them out without us.
I know, but
we
I'm
had to
just
shoot them
saying,
out first.
Y'all, if we
It's
had
a
to
big
take
shootout.
if we had to take turns, nobody would have
So now
more
we're
than
measuring
two
the gun now.
Nobody would
Measuring the
have
gun.
more
That's
than
what we're
two
doing?
kids. I believe that.
Now we're measuring the gun. Okay,
So,
so
but yeah, shout out to all the mothers who celebrate
Mother's
Happy Mother's Day.
Moms, grandma, aunts, you know, anybody that takes care of them kids.
I personally don't celebrate, but that's just me.
We're going to celebrate it for you. Okay, look, getting right down into it. What makes you a mother? You know what I'm saying? Kids, right? So that's what we're on today, kids.
Yes. Children.
So we're going to talk about discipline. Can we get our
Good
graphic?
topic
There
for
we
the
go.
Mother's Day thing.
Oh, yeah.
Spanking your kids could teach them to be violent in future relationships.
I'm not sure.
Sent the internet going off. My internet was going off.
I'm not
Beating
sure
your
about
kids.
that.
Does it make them violent? What do you guys think?
Well,
Were you guys beating as kids?
okay, so I did receive a whooping or two, you know.
Do you care to tell us why? I mean, you can keep it to
Okay,
yourself,
so
man.
my father, I used to talk back, but I was like only 10, you know, and that wasn't really good, you know. So one day, you know, I said the wrong thing. He only hit me one time. And that one time I was like, I will never say anything.
So it worked.
Yeah, to him. You know, I wouldn't say it
You
back
too?
to him.
But I mean, did it work for you? Did it stop you from talking back?
I mean, to a certain degree, you know, when I'm
You gave
speaking
it that
to
extra
him,
2-second thought.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Now, was it
So it worked.
the beating that stopped you? Like, I mean, did you stop talking back because you understood that it was, you know, wrong to talk back, or was
Well,
it the
one, I didn't
fear
want
of
him
getting
to. I didn't
that
want
ass
him to
whooped?
be mad like that ever again. So you know,
So it was just basically the fear of getting whooped again.
Yeah, I didn't want him to be mad.
What about you down there, lady? Right into it.
I probably got my fair share of spankings or whatever. A few. I wasn't a bad child.
What's a fair share though?
I don't think I was abused as a child.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't remember excessive beatings. I remember a lot of fake beatings.
What is a fake beating?
Like my dad would act like he was gonna give us a beating, but then he really wouldn't.
So the
I'm
threat,
coming
the
in
threat,
5 minutes.
the
Yeah.
fear of the
5
possible
minutes.
beating
the fear of the possible whipping. Yeah.
was enough to change the way that you were acting.
Yeah. I believe so.
For real?
Yeah.
So after that, it was
And then we was a unit, so they would play on that too. The dynamic of the siblings within each other. You know what I mean?
So that was I got beat. I probably was beaten once by my father. Changed the way I slept. You know what I'm saying? No longer sleeping on your back.
One time. That's not you got beat. You got a whipping.
My mom beat me a lot. Not a lot. It wasn't. It's kind of stupid when I think about it now. It was the 80s. I gave her. She was young. She didn't know. Whatever. Blah blah blah. But she was. I would get picked up after school after aftercare. And it would be 6 o'clock. Then she would run and do her errands after work. I would get the big gulp from 7-Eleven, and I would sit in the back of the car and drink this big gulp. Now I would tell her, I gotta pee. And she would say, all right, what till you get home? So now, mind you, I'm 5 years old at the time. I done crushed a big gulp. Orange soda gone. You know what I'm saying? Ice gone. Ice done melted. That's gone. I done been in the back of the car 6, 8, 30, 2.5 hours, whatever, running around, hit this person's house, that person's house. And it was the 80s. You could leave your kids in the car back then. You could do a lot of things back in the day. We were talking about it earlier, a quick sidebar about how parents would hold the kids on this side and smoke on this side.
Mm-hmm.
That was the 80s.
Can't do that now.
The fuck is cancer?
One big long.
Ain't no cancer. This is
one
my
big
child.
long
Fuck cancer. You know what I'm
seatbelt
saying?
for
That
everybody.
was one
Everybody
long
was-
seatbelt across the back of the, So, but by the time we would get home, it would be dark, 9 o'clock, and you know the rule when you get home, the closer you get to the house, the more you gotta pee. Mm-hmm. So now, as an adult now, I would say I don't know why she would put her keys back in her purse once we get out the car. Like that doesn't even make sense. So now she throws them back in the purse. We got Mary Poppins' bag.
Right.
She pulling everything out but the keys.
Right.
By the time she get the key in the door, what am I doing?
Peeing on yourself.
All over myself.
Right.
Yeah, don't make fun of me after this. This is some deep stuff right here. But
You okay?
Yeah, I ain't peed on myself in a long time. It's been at least 3 weeks now. No. So no, and thinking about it now, I'm like, that was your fault as a parent for giving me a big gulp. But I got beat for that, and I got probably what was the equivalent today of probably a little bit of abuse. I got beat in the shower, the slippers, stuff like that. It was never for
You're
anything.
a guy, so I expect you to get beat, but
But I wasn't bad.
That wasn't his fault.
And that wasn't my
Got
fault.
beat for that.
Well, not peeing.
So on some level, looking back now, has what we define as child abuse changed?
Yeah.
No, child abuse is what child abuse always is.
So
Child abuse.
Back then, right? So
child abuse is child abuse today. Same thing it was
ass.
50 years ago. Same thing it was 100 years ago.
But do we look at it differently now?
You can't beat your child when you can't discipline
You
your
can't
child
yell at
like that if you angry.
Okay,
first
but
of all,
let's
that's
right.
first and foremost.
Okay.
Let's get that out the way. Mm-hmm. If you mad, you need to go take a walk. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be beating no child when you mad. Mm-hmm. That's first of all.
Right.
You can't beat your child for doing something that you didn't teach them. If they don't know, then you can't beat them for that.
But if you taught them,
if you telling them over and over and over again,
No.
and they keep doing the same thing, then maybe. Mm-hmm. But you do other punishments too. You don't just beat a child.
Yeah.
You fit it to that child. Some child you could just take some away from them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now,
some child you could put them in the corner.
Did y'all have siblings or cousins around, or a lot of did you feel like any of them deserved to get beat as much, or needed to get beat a little bit more, maybe?
So I have an
or did you
older
feel
brother.
like having siblings? Did you feel like your siblings didn't get the same treatment that you got?
My brother was a goody two-shoe.
What's the age difference?
6 years.
Older or younger?
He's older.
Did he get a different type of punishment than you, or do you feel like his punishments were different because he was a boy?
It depends. Well, he was.
And then you guys are so far apart, so the learning curve. You got time to learn. And
I don't know how he got, beat while he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I know older, he didn't really do much bad things. Like after middle school, he wasn't really a bad boy. You know what I mean? I was a bad girl though, so I would say I got beat more than him.
Now we were all beat, right? Did you ever feel like you were abused at all?
I didn't get beat.
You didn't get beat,
No.
really?
got
So
popped.
what was your?
I got smacked a few times.
So what's the
for kissing my lips,
okay,
too many times or something like that. But I didn't get
what's
beat.
The difference? What's the difference?
Getting in trouble in
okay,
school.
so on some level, we were all struck by our parents. Mm-hmm. Objects, no objects.
Mm-hmm. So a switch.
Switch.
That I
A
had
belt,
to pick.
maybe.
Belt. Mostly the hand.
Hand.
I read somewhere.
Then
they
you get
said,
beat because they hurt their hand.
Just for making me hurt my hand. I read somewhere that they said you should never beat your kids with with your hand. You should always beat them with an object because you should love them with your hands. So they should never actually fear your hands. The belt is okay to fear. I don't really know how true that is.
You don't always
fearing anything.
Whatever's around.
It's, with an object, like it's a separation.
Yeah, separation from the. You're
it's
supposed
not
to
your
love and cherish
right.
with the hands.
So yeah,
and-
But maybe that's bad.
I mean, I think beating. Period.
he said a bat. What is that?
He said bad.
No, bad.
Yeah, bad.
A
Maybe
bat.
that's worse.
Bad. Yeah, bad.
You
BAD.
don't always have time to grab an iron to hit them with.
What?
It was a joke.
Iron. Holy cow.
It's a joke, you know.
Now, kids. Everybody up here has kids. The whole panel has. Have you spanked your kids? I've never beat my child. I've spanked him.
I've spanked my children twice. I would recall
Collectively, I mean,
that I would
twice
recall
or-
spanking them. Like, you know, you're about to get a spanking. You did something bad in school, and when I get to you, I'm going to give you a spanking.
Well,
And I took you in the room and I spanked you. Like, pop, 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 pop. Don't act up in school no more. That was bad. On top of their clothes. You don't take no clothes off or nothing like that.
Okay.
And then that was that. Maybe twice for acting up in school. I'm a popper.
You're a popper. What's the?
I pop upside the head. That's what I do. I pop.
Okay. Now I beat my son twice. One time maybe a year ago. I don't know what his deal is. Maybe it's the height thing, but he smacked his mother one time, and that will not be tolerated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was and it was I don't know. Like your man Rick James said, I was having too much fun. We were having a bunch of fun, and in the moment, it just came out, and I was kind of like, "What in the world?
Were you
Where in
there?
the world? Oh yeah, I was right there.
Oh.
I was right there. I gave him one back for it, and then I beat him. Took him in the room with a little belt. Oh man, the belt. Get you a good belt, man. If you're gonna do that,
Did
you
it break?
flimsy. It was like a noodle. I
So
would
did he-
have been better off with a pack of spaghetti. It was terrible.
Since then, he hasn't done it.
My son doesn't do stuff though. He's like, I mean, he came out with
So what provoked him that
a
bad?
violin and somebody playing the harp and I mean I've fallen asleep. I've passed out on my son before from being a night of drinking for terrible. And he's cleaned the house up. Like as a baby, like cleaned his toys up. I've never had a child that I had to move stuff for. So beating him is so kind of like
I try not to hit them.
I couldn't see it.
I really do. I try. But some stuff, they got to get popped. I'm sorry. You have to get popped.
Now,
you have to understand.
alternate?
After I told you the same thing 50 times, you have to get popped to go along with what I'm saying. Because obviously, me saying it to you, it's not getting through to your brain. So let me just pop you one time. So maybe you can understand what I'm saying better.
What is it done right? One of our watchers says, I think it all depends. Spanking should teach discipline and consequences for your action if done right. Is there a right way to do a spanking? I mean, is there? Should we come up with a guideline? I mean, is it one for every letter of your name? Should we go by years? I mean, what is it? Is there a proper way?
I mean, I think it's a such thing as going too far.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah,
I don't.
And I think
spank
it's
my baby's
age
10
appropriate.
months. I can't. You know.
You
she
don't
hasn't done
discipline a
anything.
5-year-old the same way you discipline a 10 or
I haven't.
15-year-old.
So what would? So okay. So
You don't discipline. You know what I mean? You don't do that.
a 5-year-old.
A 5-year-old, depending on what it is, depending on that child, you start by, sit in the corner, take away a toy. We're not gonna go here.
Okay.
As the age, spanking is not a resort. You don't want to just be spanking on your child, but sometimes that's what you have to do.
Cause so plain they be like, well,
I've taken away birthday parties.
Dang. You don't even get a birthday this year.
No, you don't get a birthday
Nope,
party
you
because
still
that's
sick.
extra.
You
Because
gonna be
that's
sick
extra.
for a whole nother year.
If you get caught lying,
No, that's
Is
if
that
you
how
get
women
caught
are like
lying,
35?
why should you get that? Why should you get extra stuff? You can't lie. You can't lie.
So you take the whole year away. You
Yeah,
just know.
yeah. You're not getting a birthday party this year. Yeah, I'm taking. Yes.
That's big. That's big.
That's all I could take because I don't celebrate Christmas and all of that stuff.
Right.
So I'm taking your birthday party.
Dang, you already don't get a Christmas, and
Nope.
now you don't get a birthday either. Bet you next year, player. You know, said, dang.
Bet you won't lie to me again.
You gotta make sure you lie on the right year. That's all. You just gotta make sure it's not like 13,
Hey.
16.
So let me give this good example today. I am waiting in my car to pick up my daughter, and there's a kid walking around, and he has a stick. I don't know this. All I know is that my car got hit, and I'm like, what is that? I know I've been in park for a minute now, so I know I didn't hit nothing. And, you know, I look in the back, and the little boy's walking with a stick. And I'm like, this little boy just hit my car with a stick.
Where are you, though?
What area?
No, I mean, like, are you, like, in a parking lot or something?
Yeah,
like
I'm in an apartment parking lot, parked in a car, about to pick up my
Is it like a
daughter.
Sidewalk near you or something?
Yeah,
Like
sidewalk in the
so it's
mailbox,
just
right?
a random kid out in the parking lot. I'm just seeing a parking lot. When you say a parking lot, I think of like
A parking lot.
supermarket parking
No,
lot.
apartment.
So just a kid in the parking. That's in my
He's
head.
walking,
I see endless
know,
parking spaces.
Yeah, and all cars, and I'm apparently just walking, just with the stick, boom, 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 boom. All I know is my car was one, so he didn't know. I rolled the window down. Excuse me, come. He comes, yes, hi, and I'm like, did you just hit my car? He's like, yes, and I'm like,
Oh, little honest, sweet badass.
No.
Sour Patch Kid.
no.
First they're sour,
He
what
knew
we
what he
call
did,
those.
then they're sweet.
Where's your mom? Where's your dad? Straight like that. No. Because you don't just go around in the parking lot just hitting cars. Like, you know what I mean? Where's your...
Might have been
Chaperone.
monsters, man. He might have been having imagination time.
Anywho, I went to his house. I don't know what happened. I went to his house.
You was just.
Hello?
Excuse me,
Did you
where do you
live?
live?
How did you get there? Did he
Need
take
to
you
speak
there?
to your parents right now.
I had to think about it
Look at
because
that little boy.
your dad needs to know what you're doing. You know,
Right.
at first I asked,
'Cause
where's
somebody
your
might
mom?
not be as nice as you.
If it was a guy, they would have been like, little boy, boom, boom. You know, you don't know. You know,
Put that on us, man. We ain't necessarily gonna beat. I don't beat up little kids.
you don't. But the area that I was in, you just
bite.
don't know. You know, it can happen anywhere. So anyway, yeah, I told his father, and his father looked at him. You know, and I'm like, I just want to let you know that, you know, next situation, you may not know. He might come back with a little bruise on him. You know, you just don't know.
You know what
Right.
was his?
Straight like that. You know, you don't know.
Yeah, beating up kids.
They
So
say
what
the
was
village
his
helps raise
reaction?
the kids, right? With the village going to raise this child today.
Okay, so now, all right. So what was the father's response?
He
to,
just looked at him, and I mean, he was like, close the door. He was like, thank you, ma'am. Close the door. And he closed. So, of course, he was
Probably
African.
got that little kid ass whooped.
He was African descent, and I don't know what happened, but again, you know, for your child to be out in the parking lot just with a stick hitting people's car, you just don't do that. Something
He was
you just
already
don't do.
outside looking for a
You know what I
switch.
mean? You know, and then on top of that, once I went inside and told the sitter, she was like, "Yeah, well, he was outside hitting the kids with the stick," and I said, "Oh, for real? Well, I would have known that." You know, I'm glad I went to the house and told because, you know, you just don't do that. There's certain things you don't do.
So I got somebody here that says we have to train them to be better. Beatings have been proven not to work.
Tia just said it
But-
did work though.
I don't know if he got.
But
Said
Well,
she got whooped one time,
me.
she ain't
Case
do
back-
that thing again.
Is it the case?
Towards
I
my
mean,
dad, though.
look at the youth out here. I mean, the ones with no parents. I'm not saying that everybody out here that's doing what they're supposed to be doing in life was beat as a
Right.
child,
Right.
but a lot of us were. And I think that the fear of beating or getting whooped or popped, whatever it was, instilled consequences. It taught us consequences. You can't do this without doing this. Now, all the time, I didn't get beat. I got my TV taken away, stuff like that. I wasn't even allowed to watch TV all through high school. Like I had like 1 hour TV a week. I could pick one night of TV a week.
Really?
From junior high all the way up to graduate. So probably about 17 or so.
What did you like to watch on TV? Sidebar.
Because I only had an hour, I didn't want to watch. Because I only had one night, I didn't want to watch TV. But what I did negotiate, see, I had an aunt that raised me to think, and she didn't hit me. She raised me since I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess she figured I went to therapy early. So I guess she figured that, you know, due to my circumstances of moving with her, that maybe physical abuse wasn't what I needed at the time. So she made me a thinker. So if I could outthink the situation, then I could negotiate anything.
Right.
$20 allowance. Now, if I didn't do what I was supposed to do, she took my allowance from me, but it was a $20 allowance. She said, you got to give me 6%. I said, how about 5? We crunched the numbers. You know, it was always a negotiation. You got to go to bed at 10:30. How about 11? No, you got to get, all right, well, if you can get up in the morning and get out by a certain time, I'll give you 11. So for my TV thing, it was I think I watched Jeopardy. I negotiated Jeopardy. I was like, well, let me get Jeopardy every night instead of one night of TV. Let me get Jeopardy every night.
You're a good kid.
I'll give you that. It wasn't that I really wanted to watch Jeopardy. It was, can I get TV from you every night? With me and her, it was a battle of the will, a battle of the minds.
Jeopardy.
So taking the TV didn't do anything. So she would take my music away from me. Oh my God.
Not your music.
Not my. I be in the house like you see on the TV, the girls on the floor crying and rolling on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Music, but
Glad
I never
figured
was
that out
beat.
with me.
However, I feel that at certain ages, maybe I needed more of a stiffer punishment because I was a little asshole at times. So maybe a beating might have helped. I'm not sure. I can't say that, but I needed something, a firmer form of discipline around 16. I didn't have a father figure, and
Oh, at that point, you grown.
no,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not.
yeah.
You grown. Ain't no more discipline.
You gonna
So
go?
do you think it is a
At
time frame
16,
for
if you don't already
abuse?
have it, that's it. I'm not whipping you at 16. I'm sorry. I got sons.
I'm not saying a
At
whooping, but I mean 14. Some
If I
type
haven't
of,
done
some
my
form
job
of
by
discipline
then,
was needed.
whatever.
So what you gonna call
I'm
the
looking in the
police?
boarding schools.
What you gonna call the police? Oh, you
It's
picking
over.
them out?
If I haven't done my job by 16, I'm still having to try to put my hands on you at 16.
Okay, so what's acceptable?
Not fighting you.
Yeah, and I mean I understand that.
Because the
Yeah.
minute you slip up,
You gonna call?
it's a problem.
Well, I mean, at 16, you think about you going to jail. I mean, if you slip up big at that age, you're going to jail. So how do we correct? How do we punish? How do we discipline?
I got spanked. It was lit.
Now I
was
want to
lit.
say,
Hey.
some people I talked to said it was a cultural thing. Like, white kids don't beat white parents don't beat their kids. Bullshit. I've watched my uncle beat his kids.
I didn't
Why
get
you got-
beat. I got spanked.
Well, but not beat. I'm no closed hands, no fists. I mean, it was belts and stuff like that. But what's acceptable?
What happened? Okay, tell the truth. Tell the truth for the people. No.
Oh man, this is the freaky underworld's coming back again.
There it is. Freaky underworld making its way back into.
Working its way back into. Okay, so acceptable forms of punishment. What do you think is acceptable for your kids? Do you have one bad kid? I mean, one super, not bad, just super active.
I have relations with one. It's not mine, but it's close to me.
Man, that's messed up.
But mine's get in their moods. They all get in their moods.
But I mean,
They get in their moods.
They're
When
little humans. We
the
get in
more
our-
of
we get
them
in
that
our,
it is, I've noticed too. The more of them that it is, the more of a mood it is.
Piggyback off of each other.
Well, I mean, too, they're boys. Young boy. I mean, if you got a lot of boys around, we came up in we had like 15 boys at a time around us all the time. So it was definitely.
But it's a dynamic
Fighting.
between certain ones.
Right.
Certain ones get into it more than other ones, and it be calm when certain ones are around each other versus different sets. But because they back to back to back to back to back
Oh my gosh.
with the nieces and nephews in my family, they like all a year apart.
Shout out to Chuck Wagon at home. He said he laughing at the freaky underworld.
Freaky
So
underworld.
we have a couple of our followers said they've seen people seen a woman hit their child in the chest, closed fist. God damn, closed fist.
Wake you up. Hey,
I've had that.
you?
Really?
Yeah. My mom, if I, did something she didn't like or she felt like she was going to have to tell me twice, instead of telling me twice, she was just since you didn't hear me the first time, I'm going to just punch you and you can hear that.
Now, can I ask you a few questions real quick?
Yeah,
Are you, you know, girl. Are you, do you think that you're violent or do you think you're more aggressive in relationships due to?
it's probably the opposite. Just because, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like having that come at me. So, I don't want someone else to feel like that. So, I feel like I'm way more understanding, way more passive, just because, I don't want to be that aggressive person towards someone else.
Is it generational? I mean, it was a cutoff when, I remember my friend telling his parents that if you touch me again, I'm going to call the child abuse hotline.
That's what I'm saying.
My face was like, holy you can do that? I mean, I wasn't getting beat, but I was like, all kids need to know about this. The child abuse hotline? They got a hotline for this? You going to jail, buddy. It didn't work. You know what your parents tell you, what I'm saying? I'm going to beat you while I'm going to beat you while you calling them. I'm going to beat you when they get here. And then when they leave,
I'm gonna beat you.
they're going to beat you. And guess what? They're not taking me out of here. They're taking you out of here. So, I mean.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
Are we?
You can deal with me, or you can deal with a stranger.
Did that teach us to
that
just
don't love you.
eat abuse? Did that teach us to? I mean, did that teach us in relationships maybe to be abused, to accept abuse?
Should
Is it
you
something that we
beat your
passing down?
kids,
I
Jazz?
honestly don't know. I mean, some of these questions are way above my pay grade.
I think so. I feel like if it goes too far, it becomes a norm for you. So like then when you're in relationships and it's kind of abusive or has an abusive tone because that's what you're used to, you might not readily identify it as abuse. You know what I mean? Like, but if you come up in a household that's really loving, like, or we're gonna talk this out, or you know what I mean, or you know, there's punishment, but it's not physical punishment. But when you're in a relationship and it is abusive, you can like, oh, that's abuse because that's not how
I was
used to
raised. I
being
wasn't
loved.
conditioned
You know
to
what I mean?
accept.
Like,
Right.
I was loved in a warm, fuzzy environment. If there's an issue, we're gonna talk about it. Now I'm in this environment that's more hostile. I can readily identify that that's not okay. You know what I mean?
Sounds good.
I can understand
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
So it sounds like a lot of us need to do self-healing
Think
before
so?
we project that on our children. And it continues again. Because even though I don't beat my kids, I don't feel as though I abuse my kids. I'll grab my child up. Yes, I will. I'll pop my son up beside the head if I got to keep telling you to stop pissing behind the toilet. And
It's
every
such
time
a-
I go to sit down, it's wet.
It's such a big.
You supposed
Now-
to not get, I'm supposed to not say, come here. Look at this.
Well, I mean, what you're supposed to do.
Look at all this piss right here. I just clinked this shit.
But, I mean,
What I'm supposed to do? You don't get a pop.
No, you make them clean it. I guess.
After you
I
get a
don't-
pop.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
clean it. But you won't get a pop.
Do they work in some cases? Yes. I'm not going to say I'm against spanking. I'm not going to say I'm for spanking. Extreme cases. My son putting his hands on his mother. That's an extreme case to me. I feel like that
Yeah,
needed.
you
that
shouldn't be
was
touching
extreme.
anyone.
You know.
Unless they hit you first.
And I couldn't. You know, it was one of them
other
things
than
where.
disciplinary
I felt
action.
terrible doing it. That's my man. But you're not gonna, you're not gonna be out here hitting women. I just, I can't,
Yeah. Not in front of me.
nah. All right. We're gonna take a quick break. And when we come back, we're gonna sit down with Dr. Tara and Dr. Dana Herron, and they're gonna give us an expert opinion.
On some of the stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah, because I have no idea.
Two Real Radio.
Hey.
We in here. Ooh.
New Jones is 22, 24, 26, 32 ounce pretty blue. Stuff in your puppy, snuffing with my fuck stick. 22 cent booty pig, 24 make movie flick. 26 mile high club, 3 Sims in the bathtub. Geechee for the lap up. Pray to God you meet each other and mother some. Ex used to hate me, cause I fucked her best friend. She wanted to be a lesbian. Me too, fat bitch on the E2. Back boom on E2. Beat you, slide to your own walls. Ebony, POV, met you on Pornhub. Hashtag, all caps, fat ass, no water. Bookings, money daughter. Oh!
back. Two Real Radio, Gen Strong, Lover of Life.
Your girl Tia.
And we have some experts here, Dr. Dana Herron and Dr. Tara.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so y'all heard what we said.
Yeah.
What's your expert opinion
Still here.
on some of the things we talked about?
Well, I've never been a fan of physical abuse, physical spankings. I've found that they don't work. What it does is usually instill fear, and kids really don't understand the concept depending upon the age of what they did wrong. Most of the time when a parent spanks, they spank when they're frustrated. So corrective action hasn't begun, like, listen, stop, and you consistent in what you're doing. The parent typically waits until they're overwhelmed. And when they spank the child only learns anger and how to resolve anger. They don't understand, okay, there's a better way of doing things. And when you spank a child when you're angry, you tend to be excessive in the way that you spank the child. Hand, belt, or whatever, because that's a lot of your pent-up frustration that you take out on a child that you should resolve in the minute it occurs, rather than waiting and having that kind of power keg going on. I don't know if you...
I would absolutely agree with everything Dr. Tara said, and also add that one thing to keep in mind is that kids aren't paying as much attention to what you're saying as what you're doing. So when you go to a child and say, I have the problem is your behavior right now. The way that I am going to solve this problem is through some form of violence. There's an implicit message often that when a person encounters a problem, that violence is an acceptable means to solving it. So sometimes with spanking and punishment like that, you can sometimes see increases in aggression in kids in the schoolyard, and then that becomes cyclical, right? Because then the parent becomes often upset about that and not being sure what other corrective action to be able to take, might then find themselves spanking, and then cycle and cycle and cycle.
Right.
So it's never okay to spank a child? That's what y'all saying. It's never okay. I'm just... Two Real Radio. It's never
do you guys
okay.
have kids?
I do.
Okay,
So do I.
so
Nothing warrants a spanking.
So never hit your child. Never just a quick no, or
I found that my daughters respond more so when they think they disappointed me. We have an open communication. I don't ever want to create fear, because when you spank a child, don't just think about the immediate results, which is a Band-Aid. It doesn't last. What happens is you can create low self-esteem, self-doubt, anxiety, cognition issues. All these things could really develop and enhance over a lifetime. We don't understand truly the latent effects of what we're doing. You want a child to respect and love you, not fear you. And a lot of the issues you're seeing in the world today, it's not that the parents aren't beating the child. It's because they're no longer becoming a parent to the child. What they're doing is trying to become friends with their child. They're trying to partner with their child and identify as their best friend. That's the issue, not the spanking. We have to maintain a fine line between parent and child, and we're seeing a merging of those lines, and that's what you're seeing in the world today, not the spanking.
Do you think that maybe a lack of by parents trying to be more friends with their kids, do you think that led to a lack of discipline altogether, and then which led us to the most school shootings we've ever seen in history? I mean,
Some
violence
of that is
amongst
mental illness. Some of that is a pre-existing mental illness, but also some of that is the failure to correct the child in a moment, not wanting to upset a child.
And the idea is not to fail to provide structure or guidance or instruction. The idea is to do it in a way that benefits the relationship that you have with the child, as opposed to tearing it down.
So in some of these extreme cases where we have, I'm not even going to go deep into the school shooter this, and what would have been something that, because the friendship thing didn't work. I've seen kids, I've come up with kids who just, parents tried the friendship thing, it didn't work. They tried to reason with their kids, it didn't work. And beating to them just wasn't an option. It just, I'm never going to beat my kids, but their kids were running all over them.
Parents should become a friend when the child is already an adult. You don't take on like a friendship type of relationship with a child, because your responsibility is discipline. Discipline is something that is done to address misbehaviors. It teaches a child how to be respectful, develop morals, values, and understand that they need to develop in a safe, healthy, and a fun environment.
So you're saying just talk it out?
Yeah, basically, and take away. A lot of times when you take away what's most important to the child, they make that connection. This is not correct. What they learn from hitting is how I can solve problems by hurting you. And you touched on a good point with relationships. Children learn how to love by the first people that they know, which are typically their parents. They learn how not only to love themselves, but how to love others. If you teach them through violence, this is what I want, that's how they resolve issues. I'm not happy with you. You made me upset. The thing that they're going to do is lash out and hit you, because that's an outlet for the fury and the rage that they're feeling. You want them to be able to channel that in a way that's appropriate rather than inappropriate.
I once saw a UFC documentary, and they said that hitting is almost the most natural response to having people in your space, having people in your area. The fighters said if you get into a baby's space and they don't want you in their space, their natural reaction is to swing. So is it a natural reaction when we're confronted? I mean, if babies will kick and they'll, if you
When we have angry feelings, we have impulses to do angry things, like lash out and hit. That's, in our evolutionary roots, time out of mind. But what we want to do is use our, the more advanced parts of our brains, our prefrontal cortex, to sort of modulate that behavior and make sure that the behaviors that you're engaging in and the ones that you're showing your child are ones that are constructive for yourself, your relationship, and our society, would be what I would say about that.
And you're modeling behavior. I mean, you spank a child for doing something wrong, and you touched on something about your son and his mother. We don't realize that we're almost branding and we're leaving footprints on the life of a child. You beat. They don't make the connection necessarily that I did something that was totally bad or egregious. I learned how to resolve this by hitting. So you upset me.
I think they do, though. I think they do make the connection. Like, I'm getting a spanking because I did something I wasn't supposed to do.
I do the talking. I don't just, it's not just, the beating's about to come. I just come in the room swinging hands and kicking feet, I'm going to be doing this when I come in, so just watch out. I mean, I'm not doing any of that. I mean, I'm definitely talking to them. Before I do it, I explain, like, man, don't you ever in your life put your hands on your mother. And don't you ever in your life put...
Like I said, you're not supposed to hit no child when you angry.
To me, for me, when I did it was the exclamation point. It was the exclamation point on the sentence. Me just saying, don't hit your mother, don't hit women. It's not gonna. But just so you remember this moment and it almost like you said, it's a branding. I almost feel like I wanted to brand this moment. I want to burn this in the back of your head, and the best way I can do it is. And he didn't cry. He just kind of looked at me, kind of like, dude, what the hell, And I don't think I did it. I didn't have a good belt, and in hindsight, I probably could took the belt that I had on off, which is a good belt. I got one of those little flimsy Forever 21 belts, and and when I did it, he kind of looked like this is weak.
Is it possible, though, that an unintended consequence of that is that while your words said it's not okay to hit vulnerable people such as women, your actions might have, maybe, perhaps unintentionally, for sure, given a message, you can't hit, but I can.
Yeah. I mean, but is that not what the intent was? That was kind of what the intent was. Like, your mother is going to one day, they're about the same height now, almost. I mean, they were the same shoe size, and, she's plotting on this sneaker collection already. So they're in the place where they're, I guess in his mind, we're the same size.
Yeah.
And his little hormones are taking over, and all this little stuff is happening. Pretty soon you're going to be bigger than her, and I may not always be around, and I don't want that situation like when I'm out in the mall and I see kids being abusive to their mother, or when they get older say certain things to their mother. I didn't have my mother around, so especially for me, it's like, you're not. I hate when people disrespect their mother because it's like, I would take a crackhead version of my mom telling me I'm not shit every day than not taking anything. So you're going to respect her as long as she's here. Right. So because one day she will be the vulnerable one in the situation and you will be bigger than her. This is what it feels like to be powerless.
But it didn't start there. What happened was he may have been disrespectful very gradually, and it escalated because it's like putting a toe in the water to test the temperature. What happens is people just don't jump out and hit you or lash out. They do a gradual testing of boundaries and bending, and then if you don't say anything, if you don't address the behavior, it escalates to something else.
I don't know from what, maybe because I'm dad. So when I'm around, certain things just don't fly. Like, I don't have to. And like I said, I haven't beat my son before that, probably good 10 years or so before that. I mean, before now, maybe 9 years or so. I mean, he was small. Mm-hmm. And it was another one of those correction things. Like, you will not be out here calling people bitches. It's just not going down. Mm-hmm. No man, no woman. That's not something you call another man unless you're just ready to fight. And that's not something you call another woman. Call a woman.
Too, like, I'm not about to sit there and let my child test me. Mm-hmm. You're not about to test me on no level. Because these kids smart.
Yeah,
they're very smart.
And they're way smarter than we are.
I've seen children act one way around one parent, act another way around another parent, play this parent against this parent, go and put extra on the story to this parent, make it seem like, oh, they treating me some type of way just so it can cause conflict between the parents.
Yeah, kids like anybody else. Kids like anyone else will manipulate in order to get their needs met.
I'm not going to allow a child to play with me. I'm going to nip it in the bud.
Mm-hmm.
And talking don't always work.
So you
could talk until you blue in the face.
So then we can also start talking about what are some other consequences. So there's natural consequences, right? Like kids who hit don't make friends as easily as kids who don't hit, I think, by and large, right? There are natural consequences in the world, but then there are also consequences that can be imposed directly and consciously with thought and explanation by a parent. And oftentimes those consequences, the research has borne out, can have a lasting impact as far as actual behavior changes if they're consistent and predictable.
I agree in certain situations. I agree.
Well, I mean, naturally, because kids crave, it's the craziest thing you've ever heard when you were little. You crave discipline. They do crave, they want you to tell them you cannot eat a whole bag of jelly beans. I don't know why they need that as little people. They need to be told these are the boundaries. They just, their whole life, they're just searching for pretty much, boundaries. They're little people trying to, and the manipulation comes, I think, almost naturally. People manipulate. We manipulate each other. I mean, on some form, everybody does. On some, to get what we want out of the situation.
But
and I think they're just doing it on an unfiltered level.
But keep in mind too, depending upon the age of the child, any attention is good attention.
Yeah.
Right. So depending upon the age, you can spank a child till the cows come home. If that's what the child feels that they need to get your attention, that's exactly what they're going to do. And that happens a lot of times when there's a two-parent working family. Often they will act out to get that attention.
So spanking, I think we're all agreeing that doesn't really work. It's a Band-Aid, like you said earlier. So what's taking something away from the child? What if that doesn't work?
Addressing it in the moment. A lot of times we wait until the behavior has exhausted us, made us completely angry, and then we react. The thing about it is when you see it, when you notice it, to address it, stop whatever you're doing, stop whatever the child is doing, and address it in the moment. Be consistent. It's not funny now, funny back then, and it's, I whip you then, and you see that. You see parents laugh about a child saying a swear word. And then the child gets in front of someone else and embarrasses them. Then they want to spank them. Be consistent.
Well, that's where my beating came from. When my father beat me, it was an embarrassment thing. It was out in public. I don't know what I said at the restaurant. And everybody thought it was hilarious. One of those kids say the darndest things type of thing. And it was hilarious to them, but not to him. Mm-hmm. And he waited till we got home to beat me. And it was one of those things probably the whole day, like, oh, I can't wait till we in the house. Like, oh, I can't wait to. But he's the person that doesn't do well, and most people don't do. I don't do well with being embarrassed. My embarrassment comes from like you spill ketchup on my shirt. I'm furious. Like I'm stuck with ketchup on me.
I don't care about being embarrassed.
But
I don't care where I'm at. If my kids get me fucked up, they gonna hear about it. And everybody that's around me gonna hear about it.
So
I told y'all before we came in this store, don't ask me for nothing.
I think you're bringing up
Don't ask me for nothing.
you're bringing up a really important point, which is about being
This
proactive.
Real radio. And I need
Okay. Usa. Nobody's getting that from us. Nobody's stopping in no
Which
stores
is
in that
about
room.
being proactive rather than reactive, right? So she's having conversations with her kids before you're in the store,
Yes.
before they're grabbing stuff
Now,
off the
is
shelves,
that like
about what behavior is expected and what's going to be okay and what's not.
But you can't tell me not to grab nothing out the store. I mean, realistically, you're in a place where you're supposed to pick up, and we're saying we're copying behavior. You're taking them to a place where you get whatever you want. You want Pop-Tarts?
When you have money to get whatever you want.
But kids don't understand. You give a
They
kid,
know.
you give a kid
They
$5.
know.
No, you give a kid $5. They talking
They know
about
they
I'm
don't
rich.
work.
You give them a $10 bill.
understand they
Oh,
don't
it's
work.
spending. It's spending central.
They know how I work them PlayStations.
Nah,
they know
it's
how I work
different.
them
It's
tablets.
but it's
They
different
know
when
how
you
to
come
read.
up. Nah,
They know how to
listen.
write. They
It's
know how to
different
do
when
all
you
of that.
come
They can
up with
understand. It's
that
fine.
form of technology at your fingertips. I don't even think they comprehend. My son can get on the internet faster than probably anybody in this room, or the kids can. I don't think they comprehend what the internet really is. You got kids now. No, you got kids right now that know how to stumble onto the dark web. They don't know that they can get a key of cocaine on the dark web. They just know I'm here. This is the dark web. They're growing up with. You got babies swiping. They don't know anything but to swipe. If you give them a phone that don't swipe, they lost. So by taking them to it's like taking the kid to the candy store. Don't get nothing. You must be. It's almost like you're setting
And that's
yourself
torture.
up to be upset.
You don't do that. You don't take a kid to a candy store and
Well,
say
I
you
mean,
can't get
is the grocery store not the candy store? They see the candy aisle.
Well, what if you take your kid to the grocery store and you say you can get one thing?
Right.
Or I've walked out of a store when my daughters have acted up. I'll walk out because even if it hurts me, I know in the long run it's going to hurt them. Because I can always go back. I can drive to that
That's
store.
child
But how
abuse.
are you going to get
That's
there?
child abuse. I'm here to get groceries. I can't walk out. You gotta eat. You gotta eat dinner. I can't just walk out.
But you should
This
have
was a-
food
this
in your
was-
house, not just that.
You know
So
what I
we
mean?
have
I'm
it.
just saying. I'm just saying.
So what's
Now
But
walking
I'm
out
like
the
when
store.
you're going into Walmart and stuff like that, you know, it's
That's not
clothes,
fair. Walmart got a game place.
toys,
As an adult
superstore
male, I'm an
has-
adult male.
But
And I'm gonna be
only in
perfectly
here to
honest.
get
I'm
some
an adult male.
batteries, you know.
I can't go to the
And I
store
can't
without
leave you
getting
in the
lost
car.
down the tool aisle looking at a
That's
new
abuse.
knife or a new 4-bedroom tent for. I don't even go camping, but I'm like, damn, a tent with AC. I could bring a TV with me. I mean, I can't help myself going into the store, and that's it as an adult. I'm 35 years old, so me expecting a child. And that's my thing. You know, kids love coming over to my house because there are basically no rules.
And I'm not popping my kids in the store.
My rules in my house
And
are,
I'm not the parent that I'm gonna pop you when I get home either. I'm not doing all that.
my rules in my house is simple.
But I'm
No
gonna
fighting
talk to you in such a way.
and no whining.
Which I think that's a
You're-
huge
I think we're
difference,
expecting
rather than
too
waiting
much
till
out of
they've done
kids.
something
And kids are
then
very
you're already
smart.
activated.
Yes, very
If they
smart.
know they can embarrass you by acting out in the store just to get what they want, they're going to do exactly that. So knowing that, when my daughter has acted out, I walked out the store. I left her, came back, and did my shopping because I get embarrassed easily. They pick that up really quick.
I mean,
She jumped on the floor. I do.
No.
She jumped on the floor,
no.
picked her
I
up,
don't care.
went back home,
I don't care who
and came
looking.
back out.
Dropped her off, huh?
But I mean, like I said, I don't
Come back
have.
to the store
I
with me.
feel bad for kids. I feel like, you know, when you get to be 35 years old, you look back and say, "This is a sham, dude. I was only a kid for like 4 years." I mean, you have for a certain amount of time, you can't go anywhere. No, you cannot go outside.
Yeah.
You can't do this. You can't go in there. You can't go in the basement by yourself. That's up until you're 3 or so years old, where you're sufficient enough where you're not going to put anything, you're not going to choke, and your parents feel safe enough to let you go out in the backyard by yourself, semi by yourself, while they're looking out the window cooking dinner. Then by the time you get 12, you're preparing for this whole teenage thing, and then by the time you get 16, college is coming, and then your kid, you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
There's no more Toys R Us.
That's why after I talk to him like that, I sit him down and I say, you know what? Anything can happen to me. Something can happen to me today or tomorrow. I have a limited time to get it in what I need to get it in to your brain. You know? I'm trying to teach you the best ways to go about yourself, your day, how to treat other people.
So what you're
And
also
certain
doing
things are
there is you're
unacceptable.
taking the time to explain to them
Yes.
and provide context for the reason that you're upset with their behavior.
Yes.
And that's a really important
course.
step as well.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it often these steps that you're talking about often get overlooked because, like Dr. Tara was saying, parents often wait until they are very frustrated to address a behavior rather than having a proactive stance.
I try
Like
all
you
of
would.
that. I try all of that. I'm telling y'all. I sitting down. I go to pee. I sit down. I'm like, oh, it's wet. I'm like, come here.
Who did it?
I said, is that
Who
fair?
did it?
I said, that's fair to me. That's fair to me. I gotta have a wet butt.
So
That's
you
fair.
gotta-
I try.
so
I
you
know-
How old is
gotta-
your child?
I have an 11-year-old. I have a 9-year-old, and I have a 5-year-old. They're all boys. Those are my 3 oldest boys.
But you gonna get there with boys. I'm sorry to tell you.
But you gonna hear about it.
And
It don't
You have to
always
hear
go
about
where you
it.
wanted to go. I
Okay,
mean,
but you have
it's a
to.
boy
But you have to.
thing.
Can you take a piece of tissue?
Well,
Can
you gotta
get
tell,
a
but you
Lysol
gotta,
wipe?
well, that's what you gotta do. You gotta
You
tell
know what
them
I'm
that. You gotta
saying?
tell them, look, or you gotta give them the same treatment one day. Maybe slide them a little. Do the funny parent thing. Give them a little laxative and make the seat wet and let them sit on it. You gotta give them half dry sheets to sleep in one night. Oh, you don't like being wet, do you? Well, neither do I. So clean the seat and leave it at that. They'll remember stuff like that because it's not a violent consequence. I guess kind of more of a prankster thing. Real quick before we gotta go, time goes so fast with these topics. What do you say to parents that think that maybe this generation is just a little soft and they can't take a little bumps and bruises or because beatings have, if you go back in time, they were worse and worse and worse. Go get a switch. I ain't never picked a switch. I'm not picking no switch. It's too much like slavery. I'm not picking nothing for you to beat me with. But they get less and less. The closer we get to the cannabis is legal now, so everybody's a damn hippie. So nobody wants to beat anybody. Let them be little people, man. Let them. What do you say to parents that think that maybe
You
we're
can't
just
just
a
be
little
little
too
people.
soft?
Cause you being little people in 16, you won't go out here and get your head blown off.
Well, we're all little.
It ain't
not little
it's not
people,
regular
but-
no more. It's
but we
not
look at-
regular.
okay, we look at
you can't even send your kids outside to play.
But that's definitely and maybe some consequence. Maybe those kids needed consequences. I'm not sure. Maybe your kids didn't need to get beat, but they kids did. Or maybe those kids were beat and now they're not physically strong enough to enact that type of violence. So they're getting something that equalizes the playing field. So if you got one and he got one and he got one, then I need one because y'all not gonna be out here. Like they say, you got the lacking challenge. So that leads to maybe that form of violence leads to Chicago or any other place where these kids were beat by parents who didn't understand and were beat by parents who didn't understand who were beat by parents who didn't understand who were beaten by parents who who were beaten by a slave master who didn't want them to understand. Is it a long cycle of ass whoopings?
When you look at a lot of the recent cases, a lot of the parents weren't implementing a lot of structure, a lot of corrective action, a lot of discipline in the form of stopping what a lot of the negativity that they were doing. A lot of these things are not because the parents are spanking the child, not spanking the child, is that the parent presence wasn't as strong as it needed to be. There were things that were going on for a while. A lot of the school shootings suggest that the child had an underlying mental health issue that they assumed was, that's how my child is. Well, your child was ill for a long time, and you chose not to pay attention to the signs and get the help he or she needed. That's what it's about. It's not really about the spankings. Some of the kids that did these egregious acts actually had no real direct parental involvement. The parents would almost let them parent themselves. Oh, he's a loner. I just let him be. Maybe he needed you more than you realized.
So the new age parenting just is maybe not
I taught my
the
kids
more
how to
hands-off approach and let them kind
Everything
of
I do for my kids, I do
develop
out of
themselves
love.
is definitely
No,
not.
be there as a parent.
And
Be
I'm
there
there.
guiding, corrective action, talking to them, knowing what's going on in their life, not assuming that you know. Because most of the parents today are assuming they know their child well enough that my child wouldn't do that. And that's not what's
Yeah.
going on. You have to know where your child is at all times, know who they're with, verify it, and know as a parent that I am instilling in him or her what they need to be the best person that they can be. Not assuming because I'm doing the right thing as a parent, my child sees that. Sometimes they need to hear it, sometimes they need to feel it, and that's by your presence.
Well,
Okay.
I agree. On that part. Yes.
I would. Oh man, I would love to
Present in
continue
your
this.
kids'
I think
lives.
I'm-
Love on your kids.
I think I'm gonna go with a 2 hour
I love
next
on them
time
just
we
as
do
hard
the
as I pop 'em.
contract because these probably we need more time. I would love to maybe come see you guys sometime, follow up, maybe bring a camera with us and go in depth. I know we got questions. I know we have a lot of questions about. Huh? No, I'm gonna say other questions. I got some questions in my Facebook stuff and all that. So, if they need to get in touch with you guys, where can they find you?
I work out of Raleigh, Family Matters Counseling Group in Raleigh, North Carolina.
I am in the DuPont Circle neighborhood of Washington, D.C. at Monarch Wellness and Psychotherapy.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you so much. You guys know we're every Friday, 10 o'clock, 2 Real Radio on IG.
Jen Strong, lover of life. That's me.
Your girl Tia.
All right, y'all. Don't beat your kids. Time out them. All that good
Take
stuff.
stuff away first.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all.